Hey, welcome to the Ready to Lose podcast, where we look at what's going on in our brains to create the health and weight loss that we want. My name's Billy Blake, and I'm a certified life and weight loss coach determined to help women love themselves all the way to their goal. It's time to start losing weight in a way that actually feels like us and creating that healthy life that we love showing up for every single day. So tell me, are you ready to lose? Let's go. Hey, Ready Babes. Welcome back to the Ready to Lose podcast, where we are done with dieting and we are losing weight for good, which means no more losing and gaining the same 5 frickin' pounds. And no more eating sardines out of a frickin' can, unless you really love doing that. Have any of you seen that going around? Maybe it's just my algorithm. One woman I started following recently, just because she gives a lot of tough love truths that I do like. It's inspiring how much she gets done, but also part of me is questioning, is this going to last? But maybe that's my limiting belief. We'll see. I'm excited to watch her though. She does inspire me. But in one reel, she was at the gym just eating a can of tuna. And my first thought was oh my gosh, I would be so annoyed if I was at that gym because tuna is stinky. And the gym is already prone to being a stinky place. Anybody who's ever worked out in the morning can confirm this. The bathrooms are always filled with people. I get it. Honestly, I've been there myself before, but it is stinky. That was my first thought. Okay, adding tuna to the mix, ew. But also, she went on to say that she didn't have time to cook that day, so it was a can of tuna now at the gym, and then she was going to eat a can on the way home in her car. And I do love some protein, I really do, but that just felt like too much. I was like, is this the life you want to be living? The tuna life. But I've also just seen day-to-day influencers, like life influencers, eating cans of sardines. And I don't know, I assume it's just the latest health trend, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be a part of your weight loss journey if you don't want it to. And apply that to any other habits that you don't really like, but you kind of are thinking maybe I have to do that to lose weight. No. Here, you're going to learn how to lose weight doing the things you actually like to do. So today's episode is going to be a rundown of how you create something you've never created before. If you haven't noticed yet, this entire month has been about your relationship with yourself. And this episode is no different. Going after a big dream or goal is going to force you to build a better relationship with yourself. You just have to. You must be a friend to yourself if you want to lose weight this year or any year. Because when I ask someone why they can't lose weight, usually they tell me that it's because they've never done it before. It always comes down to, I just don't know if I can because I've never done it. In fact, I've collected a lot of evidence that I quote unquote can't do it. Even what we were talking about in the intro, losing weight and actually keeping it off. Okay, you don't want to just lose weight over and over and over again until the end of time. You want to lose it, keep it off. So sometimes I hear people say they've never been able to lose weight and that's, what's keeping them from doing it now. But some women tell me that they can lose weight. They go, I know I can lose it, but I can't keep it off. They know they can lose, but they've never been able to maintain. But either way, the story is whether that's you, whether you're the person who's I can't lose it at all, or you can lose it, but you always gain it back. This story is that you can't do it because you've never done it before. I can't lift weights. I'm just not made for that. I've never done that. I walked you guys last week through my journey to becoming someone who exercises consistently, who lifts heavy weights and pushes myself to do that, when that's not something I really ever did before. I walk you through how I did that. But here's another one. I can't get to bed earlier because I just don't do that. It's just not easy for me. That's just not what I do. I can't plan my food ahead of time because I've never done it. I've only ever decided what to eat in the moment. Usually with planning, it's not I've never done that before. It's usually I don't know what I'm going to want. That's usually how it sounds. But what you really mean is I've never tried doing food that way before. I can't change my eating habits because it's never worked before. It's never stuck before. I've got to call you out. That is such a dumb reason, right? To be clear, the reason is dumb. You are not. You are not dumb. The reason is. And it's actually an extremely common reason that we as adult people stay stuck. Because I've never done it before, I will not be able to do it now. I hear this with the big goal of weight loss, but also with smaller habits too. Well, I've always done it this way, or it feels hard anytime I do it differently, or I always fall off anyway. You guys just are saying that about yourselves like it's a fact, like it's a good reason that you should stay stuck. It's important to notice this because you don't want that to be a fact. You don't want to be just stuck with high cholesterol. You don't want it to be a fact that you can't get below 185 pounds. You don't want it to be true that your joints hurt and you get winded going up the stairs and it's just going to be like that until the day you die. And if you're thinking this about your health, I know you're thinking it about other things too. I haven't talked about this in a second, but I remember when I moved to Rochester, okay? So this is before I lost weight, before I found coaching, all of that. I was at one of my highest weights and I was feeling really stuck with that like I had for years, but I also felt stuck in my relationships, with where I was living, with my job especially. I remember vividly this experience. I can literally picture it now. I was sitting on the couch at our apartment and I was thinking, is this just my life now until I'm 70? I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to change because I had failed so many times. So much so that it felt easier to believe that this was going to be my life until I was 70. I was like 26 at the time, okay? It felt easier to believe that the next 50 years were going to be exactly the same than it did to believe I could do something different. Because I was scared. I was so scared that I wouldn't be able to change because I felt like I had failed so many times. I had heard from so many people that I should just keep going and ignore how I was feeling. So of course I did. So many of us are just scared. Change is scary. Not knowing how things will turn out is terrifying. Like, even going a little further back, I knew in my core that OT was not the job for me. I remember being in my senior year of college, and I had the idea to just get my bachelor's and go into something else. Maybe just go into working, whatever it was, because OT just didn't feel right. And I confided and shared that with some close people in my life, and they told me, oh, you're just scared about your level 2s, which are just clinicals, right? I was going to be working in a nursing home and then working in a school. So they're like, you're just scared of that. Just push through. And if you still feel this way, then we'll do something. So I stayed. And in fact, I did like my clinicals. I like working with people. I always have. But I still felt like it wasn't right. But even that, right? Like I tried saying something and nobody listened. So I guess I must be wrong. I was already going this way. So I guess this is just what I have to do. And this person who told me this, right? I don't blame them for telling me this. They were scared for me too. Like, what do you mean you want something different than what you've been working towards the past 5+ years? Even longer, right? Because you have to decide this stuff in high school. So what do you mean you want to change the plan that you've been working on for 5+ years? Why would you want to do that? We've never changed the plan before. Most of us are scared and we assume we can't change or do something different because we just haven't done it before. We haven't been able to do it before. And the people around you are thinking stuff like that too. But knowing that and hearing it out loud, I really want to ask you, do you think that you are capable of change? Even more important than that, even if you feel like that's true, do you want to be capable of change? Really, that's the only one that needs to be answered. Do you want to be capable, even if you don't feel like you are right now? If yes, I've got you, and that's what we're going to talk about today. How to believe you are capable of doing and creating something that you've never done before. And before we get into it, I got to offer for you to join us in one-to-one coaching, because that's what you get when you join. Someone who believes in you 100% while you learn to believe in yourself. That is what I wish I had back then. Someone to help me make sense of the life I really wanted and piece it all together and guide me there, believing in what I was capable of what my life could be, instead of believing my own excuses that I couldn't because of what I'd experienced in the past. I really wanted someone to help me piece it together and guide me there, especially on the days when I was so freaking scared and just wanted to quit and stay stuck. That is when I needed that support the most, because the familiar hell feels safer than the unfamiliar heaven. Okay, one of my coaches always says that, and she's so right. No wonder we stay in our comfort zones even though we know we don't want to be here. So if you're ready to start believing in what you're capable of to reach the weight that you keep thinking about, the health that you keep thinking about, click the link in the show notes and sign up for a free session where I will help you figure out what is keeping you stuck right now and how to start making progress with your weight loss goal. An entire hour of me and my brain believing in you and helping you lose weight. So, how to create something you've never done before. The first step is to talk to yourself in a way that you want to be talked to. We talked a few weeks ago about boundaries, the boundaries you have with yourself. And one of the boundary examples I gave is how you talk to yourself. Do I beat myself up? Do I take problems and make them mean that I'm incapable? For example, in the past, I had this habit of taking a problem or an obstacle or a fail, and I would beat myself up. I would beat the crap out of myself. mentally. I would say things like, I'm so stupid, I always do this, I'm an idiot. And I would spiral, thinking of all the ways that I wasn't good enough. Sometimes for something as small as dropping or breaking something. Or if I got a bad grade on a test or an assignment, definitely would beat myself up for that. And a lot of my work has been to challenge that thinking. When I started losing weight this last time, I had to stop saying those things to myself. I had to start being compassionate with myself, viewing myself as a human who is lovable and worthy, getting curious about what was going on for me, why I was being so mean to myself, and why I was coping with food. Side note, I'm currently reading for my book club, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I know I am so late to this book, okay? And I do love it so much. But one of the things that I love that this character says about herself over and over again is that she is compassionate with herself. She's like, I did the best with what I could. I did the best with where I was. I am compassionate with myself that I was just a person trying to figure it out. And so many of us don't do that with ourselves. We live in regret and guilt and shame, thinking that there's something wrong with us, that we are humans just trying to figure it out. I hear this all the time with people who lose weight and gain it back, or they just gain weight in general. Usually it's this story of like, I let myself go. Oh, I let myself go. I'm so mad that I did this. And if you look back, I'm always questioning people on this story because when you look back at your actual life, maybe there was a moment when you started leaning on food more, you started eating more. Absolutely never have I heard someone say, you know what, I remember vividly thinking, this is it, this is my moment, I'm gonna let go. No, nobody I've ever talked to has thought that. Almost always, they are just trying to survive. Something stressful happened, an emergency with their family. They had to step into a new role or take on a challenge that they weren't ready for, or other things in life just started feeling really hard, and so they just tried to survive. And food was there for them when they didn't know how to support themselves. Almost always, that's why. Can you have compassion for yourself, the version of you who was just trying to get through and didn't know how to do it? Doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. You know better now. You know different now. You can make a different choice now. But we don't need to be judging ourselves and being angry and frustrated with ourselves for making the best choice we could in the moment. Even for me, and it's one thing for me to say this and coach people on it, but even for me in my own life, this language has snuck back in. I wasn't beating myself up as much, but I did start feeling like a victim and feeling disconnected from my own body. It was language like, my weight is just stuck. No matter what I do, I can't lose weight. Or even sometimes fixating on things I'd hear on social media. A big one was stress and mold. Weird enough. Like, do you ever feel like your phone is listening to you? Like you say something to a friend and then all of a sudden you get an ad for it or you get a reel about that? Okay, so that was me. So all of a sudden my algorithm was filled with things like, you're probably just stressed. The cortisol is making your body hang on to weight. Or you know what? You mold. That's what's making you feel tired and puffy. Those are probably real things for some people, but I started believing it, right? I started believing those were all the reasons why I couldn't lose weight. And it sounds silly, but I would even get so mad at my husband, at Mike, for how he was driving because it stresses me out. Okay, he is a aggressive driver, some might say. I am a very defensive driver. Given space, why do we need to speed? I am probably like driving Miss Daisy, okay? I'm not an aggressive driver. So he does drive a lot though, right? When we're going places together, and it would stress me out. And then I would think, not only would I just be stressed about how he was driving, then I would think, oh my gosh, this is why I can't lose weight. And it felt like it was out of my control. And then I was internally fighting with him about his driving. Like not only just, hey, I don't like this. But on top of that, I was like, and now you're keeping me from losing weight. What? I even got fixated on mold. Like I saw a few reels about how mold is in your house and it's everywhere and it's in your coffee machines. But I didn't actually even know if there was mold in my house. But I just saw these reels about how it's so bad for you and how it causes these symptoms. And I just assumed that was another thing in my way to losing weight and why I couldn't figure it out this time. None of it was true, y'all. None of it. But that all mattered. How I talked to myself directly determined if I was feeling motivated and empowered or helpless and stuck. So if you want to be capable of losing weight and doing it in a way you've never done before, you got to be willing to talk to yourself like it. You've got to be willing to take back your power from the stress or the mold or the cortisol or the hormones or whatever that is. If you do, and that's the thing too, and a big one is hormones. And maybe you do have some imbalances, some things to figure out there. Go to a doctor and figure it out. Stop watching reels that tell you that your hormones are out of whack and that's why you can't lose weight. And then you just sit here thinking, well, I guess I'm stuck here because I can't lose weight because of my hormones. Go figure it out. That is where your power is. Okay, so the first step, right? Start talking to yourself differently. Doesn't mean there won't be obstacles, but maybe you could figure it out. What if you could figure it out? What if you could do something about it, even though you've never done anything like that before? The second step is to commit to a plan for how to get there. For us in Ready to Lose, it is the 4 habits. And I will tell you, after my year of feeling a victim, disconnecting from my body, why can't I lose weight? All the habits. Like even me, I'm like, oh, I'm making my plan. Why doesn't it work? It was my hunger cues, y'all. I wasn't listening to them. I had stopped listening to them. I had started leaning on food for some emotional eating in the last couple of years. But again, when I was so stuck because of all the things happening around me, I wasn't seeing that. I wasn't actually taking action on my hunger cues. Once I did, I started losing weight. Surprise, surprise. We have 4 habits we use to lose weight. If you don't know what those are or you want to start using them yourself to lose weight, go grab your Get Started guide with the link in the show notes of this episode. Pause right now and grab it if you haven't yet. And that guide will teach you how to use those habits each day to lose weight. I'm going to give you some other examples too, but those ones are great. They are 100% in your control all the time. All the time. You don't even have to have all the healthy foods in your fridge. You could start using those habits now to lose weight. You don't have to have 4 hours to meal prep on Sunday. You could still use those habits to lose weight. You don't need your husband to stop driving in an aggressive way and all your stress to go away. You could still use those to lose weight. Anyway, but for you, maybe it's the Ready to Lose habits. Maybe you want to commit to walking 4 times a week. It could be getting 8 hours of sleep. It could be cooking at home 3 nights a week. Commit to a plan. When you just look at your weight in the scale, it is going to feel like a roller coaster. Like, yes, we do want to check in, make sure we're actually creating the results we want, be working towards our goal and make sure our plan is working for our goal. But each day, your focus needs to be on your plan. It needs to be on what you're doing to get yourself closer to the goal, who you're being to get closer to that goal. And that plan needs to be different than what you're doing right now. It needs to push you a little bit. It shouldn't feel like sunshine, rainbows, easy peasy, especially at first. It should push you to do things in a new way because you are capable of change. You are capable of doing something new, right? You want to believe that you are capable of change. This plan is how you do that. You don't want to be pushing yourself because you aren't good enough right now. I'm going to explain this a little more because maybe you're like, what's the difference? Either way, I'm pushing myself doesn't really matter. Yes, it does. So often, I was beating myself up, thinking I was stuck, and then I would have little spurts, okay? When I wasn't feeling stuck, I would get into these little spurts of doing the thing, but it was always hard and extreme. I was pushing myself because I thought I wasn't good enough as I was. It felt very urgent that I do something different, and urgent almost always led to hard and extreme. It had to be urgent, right? So I could feel better and stop feeling crappy about myself. That is not where your plan should come from. And again, if you want help doing this, sign up for a free session. Everybody leaves with a plan for how to get to their goal. Because if you are used to losing weight in an urgent and extreme way, it is going to feel difficult to come up with a sustainable plan. I can help you with that. And then the last step, you're talking to yourself differently. You have a plan for how you're going to get there. The last step is to check in, track your progress, and reevaluate your plan. There is no way around this, y'all, because your first plan isn't going to be quote unquote it. You're not going to just, you know what? Actually, I know exactly how to get there and here's how I do it. No. To create something you've never done before, you have got to experiment and be willing to fail. Your goals are an experiment. You have a hypothesis of what it might look like to get there. You have a theory that if you started walking more, you might start losing weight. Do it. See what happens, right? There's a few ways to do this, how to check in, how to reevaluate, how to keep moving towards your goal. In Ready to Lose coaching, we have our weekly evaluation and weigh-in tool that walks you through how to track your data and what is happening on the scale to make a plan for the next week. We also do this on a monthly level. For example, maybe you have an idea that you want to be planning your meals and you do that for a week. You have an idea for what your breakfast and lunches and dinners should be or how many times you're going to have a sweet treat during the week. You do that for a week and a few things could happen. Maybe you have this idea for your plan, you write the plan, and you don't follow it at all. Then you got to figure out why. Was it stress? Or did you plan food that you didn't have available? Maybe you're not great at planning yet. Or maybe you didn't plan enough food and you were hungry. You then ate something else. Did you have cravings that you didn't know how to handle? It could be any of those things. There's so many reasons that we eat off plan. Maybe you did follow your plan. You made the plan and actually you followed it, but you didn't lose weight. Well, maybe then were you actually hungry for all those meals? Maybe you planned more food than you needed. Your next step might be phasing out one of your snacks. Let's see how that goes. See what happens. Maybe you decide to level up your dinners, add more veggies. See how that goes. It's an experiment. You've got to be willing to try and see how things go. Now, you might argue that that's a waste of time, or I don't want to stand on the scale and see it go up or not move. I don't want to fail. Well, the good news is you aren't failing. You aren't stuck. If you keep taking action, you will eventually get there. But most of us get so stressed out about the idea of failing or not being able to do it that we just fail ahead of time. We stop moving. We stop, we quit, we wait until the next time it feels super urgent. Because you will figure it out. If you keep trying, you keep evaluating, you will figure it out. Each failed diet, even the experiences you've had so far in your life, the failed diets, okay, you know what doesn't work. You are closer to figuring out what's going to work for you. Each plan and each mess up gets you closer to figuring it out. I didn't start planning and poof, immediately, no more emotional eating for me ever again. No, I actually really sucked at planning at first, okay? So I just spent a lot of time reflecting and seeing why things worked or didn't work. Then, even when I made doable plans, I would still react to a craving or be stress eating at times, and I had to problem solve for that. Why am I stress eating? What do I want to do about my stress? What cravings am I having? How do I want to do that differently next time? I could have continued with the story of, see, I can't do it because I've never been able to do it. That was so easy. That would have been so easy to come in with so many times. Heck, even this week, I could have said that to myself so many times. See, I knew I couldn't do it. But instead, I started telling myself that each of these mess ups brought me closer to figuring it out. I had to be talking to myself differently. And that's true. They did. They did bring me closer to my goal. Contrary to what we learn about losing weight and calories and macros, creating weight loss and the health that you've never had before is not a math equation, right? Like that's how most of us think about it. It's like calculating calories in versus calories out versus my workout I did today versus how much of that was protein versus carbs versus whatever. It's not a math equation. It is a science experiment. It is trial and error and learning. Yes, it's work, but it's work worth doing to create something you've never had before in a way that you've never believed was possible before. So, to recap these steps for you, you've got to talk to yourself like you believe in yourself. This is the foundation for this work. The other two steps won't work if you're not doing that. Then, you make a plan for how to get there and focus on that each day. You need to be focusing on who you're being each day to get closer to your goal. Then you do check in weekly and monthly to evaluate and adapt your plan as you learn and fail with your plan. Rinse and repeat. So get to work, sign up for a free session with the link in the show notes, and I will help you make your first plan. And until next week, remember, you've totally got this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you for taking time today to listen in. If this helped you at all, be sure to share it with a friend so she can stop feeling stuck and start creating the health and self-love she deserves. Or post it to social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me get the message out. I am so excited to be on this journey with you. Keep showing up for you. You'll get there. Talk to you soon.